start at the beginning. How did Groundation start?
The beginning, boy, that is a good one, you know, because the beginning, I wasn't in the actual beginning.
Okay.
I came after, well, we all grew up and we knew each other, don't get me wrong. You got the Jeffers brothers, Franklin and George. You got Robert Charles, who was the saxophonist. Ellis Paul. It was mainly between those guys that got together first, and then the rest sort of slotted in and as they went on, you know. But yes, there was another singer. He's in Tenerife, and he was part of the original lineup, and his name was David, otherwise known as Waxer. You know, so the members were Dave Miller, who we called Caesar on drums, George Jeffers Bassy on bass, lead guitar his brother Franklin Jeffers, rhythm guitar Henry Ford, who we know as Van Cleet, and these names, they stay there forever, you know. Who else? Ellis Paul, unfortunately, he's passed away. Rest in peace, a really nice brother, and he was very integral in the writing of Groundation's music. You know, he heard things we didn't hear. If I put it nicely, it's true. You know, he had a vision that I don't know, things he heard, we didn't hear it straight away, but he heard it, and it evidently things worked. You know, but Waxo was the lead singer at the time, and then he decided he's going to go to London. He decided that he's going to go to London, and then so I had to end up learning about 15, 16 songs in the space of 1 week, because we was going to be performing at the Leicester Polytechnic, which is now De Montfort University. You know, and yeah, things kind of took off really from there, you know. And
so when you first got into it, what year were we in?
What year were we in? We was in between 1979 and 1980. Yeah. Ending of 79, early 1980. And I just joined the band with David. David invited me to join, who was the lead singer. And I was doing 2 songs. And then he decided to up and say, boy, I'm leaving the band, I'm going to London. You know, so we had the gig, as I was saying, at what is now the De Montfort University, and I had to learn 15, 16 songs within the space of 5 days. You know, and yeah, but it was a real good experience. Yeah, very good experience, you know.
So where were you doing your rehearsals and?
Okay, rehearsal was at the Youth Foundation. Yeah, and them days, before it was the Youth Foundation, it used to be the Black Powerhouse.
Bottom of Bartholomew Street?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, where the playground is now.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it was right there, 99. But at the time it was called Laurel Road, that end. But they've changed it to, you know, Bartholomew Street, but it was Laurel Road.
Well, it's that bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is that a dedicated space for rehearsals, or was that just where you...
Well, it was a dedicated space. They had a sort of shed in the back, and so we was fortunate enough to have the use of that. So all our equipment was in there, and that's where we rehearsed quite a few nights a week.
Yes. If you tell us about the success that Groundation had, how did that led you?
Well, there was lots of ups and downs, because those days, you know, for a black, you know, band, it was very hard. Very hard. You was up against all sorts, you know, and the music business is not like it is today. Those days, you know, you strived on trying to get a deal, you know, with a record company, because you know, it was very hard to do it by yourself, you know, and so it was always an uphill struggle. And at that time as well, things was more political, so it reflected in our songs. Our songs were very political. I think we only ever did one love song, and even that was very rootsy, you know. But yeah, but our songs was all sort of politically orientated, all about the struggle, black people, history, that sort of thing, and that was our forte at that time.
Was there another influence from the fact that you're living in Leicester and you're struggling as black people, or was it just black people generally?
Just black people, just being a young black man, you know, trying to make their way in life. It was hard to get jobs. It was hard in a lot of ways, you know. People, you know, just assumed you was this or you was that. They didn't ask you anything, you know, as people do, you know.
So, I mean, because we had the riots here about that.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
how much effect did that have on what you were writing? Because who was writing the songs actually?
Yeah. Well, myself and a friend of mine, you know, what can I say? We was brutalized literally by the police. You know, in fact, I wrote a song. The song relates to that time, Forward, which was a self-penned, you know, we self-financed it, everything, a 12-inch called Forward. It was a double A side with an instrumental called Juggernaut. And 1981, when the riots kicked off, yes, it was, you know, all up here was ablaze. You know, lots of things happened, you know, because we had lots of problems with the police, lots of problems. And, but, you know, we had a lot of spirit them days. As I say, you know, everything was very political then, and we was more together then. If something kicked off or if somebody got arrested, we'd be down Charles Street, which is where the headquarters was, and we'd make sure they got legal representation. Everybody knew. We was, not like today, it's kind of every man for himself, you know, but we was very organized because a lot of things were centralized, you know, in terms of equal rights and justice. Because I have to say, it was our generation that was very integral in, not just in Leicester, but around the country, that was integral in, you know, like stop and search, the SUS laws. That was a nightmare, you know. Police could just look at you on the street, decide to just haul you over, you know, and just arrest you because they think you're going to commit a crime, you know. That was the terminology, yeah, and it was happening all over the place. And it was predominantly black youth, you know. It happened to me quite a few times. But yes, the riots kicked off, and the place was ablaze. The electrical shop up there, that must have been broken into a few times. The place was on fire, and myself personally, in fact, I can, sometimes when I look in the mirror, I can still slightly see the 2 marks, right, that the police, and I'll say it was over 40 police. I thought I was going to die that night, you know. To cut a long story short, there was another band called Black Gorilla, and they were based just up the road here, and because there was riots for a couple of nights, and you know, they got their van broken into, and they found bits of their equipment out in the street. You know, and we'd just come back from a gig from somewhere and seen the place, you know, alight. And so we decided to park our van, you know, Rattle Bookshop, which is not there now, but we decided to park our van in there because we never seen so much police in our life in this little section called Highfields. And, you know, before we could stop the van, 4 vans flew round the corner of Melbourne Road, and they just surrounded our van, told us to get out. And there was at least 40 odd of them, because them vans hold at least between 10 or 12 people, and they were full. I thought I was going to die, you know. I thought I was going to die. And the next day, I had to go down to town to the council, and I was all whatever. And people just looked at me like a criminal, you know, like a criminal.
So how much effect did that have on the music that you were putting out?
It always, as I say, because not just because of the riots, but the whole atmosphere of that time, everything was political.
Yeah, you know, there was other bands around that was doing stuff that were quite political and were quite
Oh, yeah.
kind of, you know, but you kind of got it. It was kind of, there's a, how can I explain it? There was an anger and there was a real power.
Yeah, I suppose it was for the time. I suppose it was kind of dramatic. It was, but you see, as I say, that's what we was living. You see, that was our reality. You know, there wasn't too much niceties. We kind of utilized what tools we had. You know.
Do you think that made you excel as a band? I mean, where was the high point for the band?
The high point for the band was probably, well, one of the high points was when we did a show with Third World at Leicester University. And I mean, that was a phenomenal night, you know, and it could have been 82. And Third World had just got their big hit with Now That We Found Love. Now that we found love. And they'd just come back from South America, and we were supporting them. And nothing, I don't think from then anything could hold us back, really. You know, and they was lovely, the band was lovely, the musicians were lovely, but their management, the stage management, pain in the arse, and really spread a lot of bad vibes, you know. And but, you know, we just got on with it how we know best. And in fact, they only gave us 7 mics. And you need at least 4 mics, a minimum, for the drum alone. You know, never mind the other instruments. But anyway, somehow we did it, and they reckoned we stole the show. You know, and even the manager, the road manager, you know, that was spreading their bad vibes, you know, I heard he was crying tears at the side of the stage the night. We just blew Third World away, you know. But I think that was one of our real high points, definitely. Yeah.
How did you get from being a Leicester band and then playing for live on the John Peel show? And there was more, wasn't there? There was more.
Well,
BBC and those
yeah. We did a program right here in Leicester at a club. It's called that club on Abbey Street. I forgot what it's called now, but it used to be called Scamps back in the day. You know, we did a BBC documentary there. How we hooked up with John Peel was the Polytechnic, Demont University. We did a gig there with him, and he liked us so much. He invited us to the studio. Says, "Come and do a session for me." So we went down to London. We did a session. And for that year, he played our session about 4 or 5 times, the most he's played any band, you know, in a year, you know, which was, he was a cool guy though, John Peel. I got to show respect for him because he showed respect for many bands and artists that just wouldn't get, you know, a blind, they just wouldn't get heard, you know, and, you know, a lot of big bands can say thanks to him, really, for giving them that opportunity, you know, that platform, because he had, you know, his program was well respected then amongst musicians around the world. So, you know, the BBC is a worldwide service, so lots of people heard that. Yeah, definitely. But, you know, I would say that Groundation was to describe us as our niche, because we did all our own material. Everything was original. We didn't do any covers. And I would say that we was a cross between Third World and Steel Pulse. And Steel Pulse was one. You talk about, you never heard of Steel Pulse? From Birmingham. Oh, one of the best albums ever from a British band, Handsworth Revolution. And that's all political. That's all about struggle, all about the black struggle, you know, related historically, Africa, the Caribbean, to right here in England with the police and the politics and the government. If you don't know Steel Pulse, check out Steel Pulse now. Yeah.
One thing I've heard about Groundation is that you had success in Jamaica. Is that correct?
No, we didn't have success in Jamaica. Okay. No, we never went to Jamaica.
Okay.
No, not as Groundation, no.
Okay.
No, we didn't have success. We'd have liked to have, but no, we didn't have success in Jamaica.
I thought you had it over there as well.
No,
So
no.
it was just British.
It was just British, yeah, just British. In fact, you know, just 2 weeks ago, somebody messaged me on Facebook who's putting together a compilation album of a lot of British bands from those days, and our name came up, you know, with a few others from Wolverhampton and London. So there's going to be a release shortly.
How did you kind of grow out of Leicester?
Well, it's a case of determination and just pushing yourself, you know, not accepting what's being put before you, because there's always obstacles. Obstacles was just the norm, to be honest. It was just the norm, because reggae music, as it is today still, has always been kind of looked down upon, but yet, you know, everybody's had a piece of our music and used it and made money from it, and, you know, and I mean big money, you know. But actual reggae artists, whether they're from Britain or from Jamaica, the Caribbean, you know, they don't get their dues, really. They don't get the due respect, really and truly, compared to other genres of music. And many of them they've all plagiarized from reggae music and reggae artists, you know. So, you know, Bob Marley was an inspiration to us all, not because he broke out big. He was already big amongst black people before he did songs like Is This Love and all the obvious ones that, you know, the mainstream people know. He was already big to us, you know, big, big, big. Bob Marley and the Wailers, they was like a storm in Jamaica. They just wild up the place everywhere they went, because they was just phenomenal, you know, in the lyrics. And if you listen to Bob's lyrics, it's all about struggle, which is why people worldwide can relate to it, because everybody in China, you know, people are experiencing the same kinds of struggles. You know, can't get work, money's low, you understand me, children to feed, got to pay money to send them to school. You know, we here in Britain, we enjoy a lot of luxuries compared.
So what does being in Groundation, what has it done for you now? What did it make for you?
Boy, it's a lot, really, you know, because Groundation, when we were on the road, you know, we was like a family, you know, we were like a family. And I mean, I can't forget Zed, because Zed, right, was integral in the survival, in the existence then of Groundation, because he made sure we had transport on the road, you know, fuel, insurance. He did all that. You know, he managed us on the road, and he did a good job, and I got to pay big respect to him, you know, to Zed. Zed, Tyrone, his name is Tyrone Zampaladas, and he used to run, you know, the Youth Foundation was his brainchild. Do you know Tariq? Yes. Zampaladas? His dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. His dad was integral in this community in terms of equal rights, justice for black people and the black youth. He did so much for black youths, so much. He was an inspiration for me personally, you know, as an elder. Yeah, and he took us under his wing, so to speak, without a doubt. And so
when did you leave Groundation?
When? My goodness.
What happened to Groundation?
Well, we kind of, because we was together for like 8, 9, 10 years. And it's hard to keep, you know, 7 people, 8 people together. We're all friends, but I think we just got to, because it was hard. It was hard being up against the system, so to speak. You know, we did a song called "The System." There's, you know, all our songs, you know, they meant something. They was about something. You know, another song like "Rebel," "Judgment," you know, "Life." you know, freedom. These are all titles of songs that were, you know, that came from us as youths, you know, relating to our struggle and the, you know, the political vibes of the time. Everything was, it was our life. And so being on the road, you know, not all of us were on the same level, but we learned from each other and gave each other strength, you know, and we grew together. That's all I can, it's the only way I can put it. We grew together. So, you know, that made us family. We'd play at some, I mean, real far places, you know, and, you know, we'd take food and cook food. We'd have a pot of food on the fire, cook it. So after we've set up and sound check, you know, then we'd all sit together and eat.
What year did Groundation finish?
It was probably around 1983, 84, about 84.
That's when they finished?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, about 83, yeah. Because then, after we did finish, and we split things up, I went and that's when Oneness Progress was formed. Well, they were already going, but then they invited me to, you know, come across. Yeah.
So come on, give us that story too.
But I was going to tell you something about an experience we had. There used to be a club in Leicester. This is with Groundation. There used to be a club called Bailey's. You remember Bailey's? And they used to have all big American artists used to come there. Diana Ross and Supremes, all of them lot came there. They had this competition. I can't remember, there was a record company involved that set up this competition for bands around the Midlands. And we entered this competition. And, you know, there was big controversy because they didn't want to let anybody from Highfields in. And somebody I know went and called the Race Relations Board. And the Race Relations Board came down and they had to let everybody in from Highfields. You know, and we ripped up the place. Yeah, we ripped up the place.
And what year was that?
Whew, gosh, that must have been 1980, I think, or 81, between 80 and 81.
Did you
Yeah.
win?
No, we didn't win. We knew we wasn't going to win. We knew we wasn't going to win, but and there was the main, and it all happened before the main headline acts, that, you know, international acts, and the act that was supposed to come on, they wouldn't come on after us.
So listening to you, it's as if Groundation was a part of a political struggle. Reasoning behind Groundation, behind what you were doing, was the political situation that you were all in, and that seems to be in front of the music in some ways.
Well, kind of. It's because of what it was. I mean, you had another band at the time called Interpreters, and they, you see, we were more roots, you see, and they played more pretty music and music for the girls, and where we didn't, you know, and it was, you know, it was all related to how we lived, really, you know. But as I say, you know, and I mean, one of the biggest bands to influence us at that time was Steel Pulse, you know, and I urge you, get on YouTube, Handsworth Revolution. That was the name of their first album, and they were signed to Island Records. In fact, we went and seen them the week they got signed for a 50,000 figure sum, and they influenced us a lot. You know, they did a song called Ku Klux Klan. Big tune. All their songs were very big. Yeah, most definitely. What can I say? So that's the way it was for us, you see. We chose that road to go down, the roots road and the message road, rather than just singing about, you know, I want to hold you tight, girl.
So from Groundation onto the Oneness.
Onto Oneness Progress, we didn't enjoy as much success as Groundation, but you know, right here in the African Caribbean Centre, we did a show called the Rockers Road Show, which was That's another thing. I'm sure somebody must. I've got it on video, but.
What year was that?
Oh God, you you always ask me what year. That's got to be 83, 84, about 84. About 84 with and this brother Mikey Dread, he was a Jamaican artist. He did this thing, and he went all around the country to different cities, showcasing bands. And I remember I got a very good write-up for that in the TV Times. But from then on, I ended up leaving and going to London, and was working with Greensleeves Records. I released some songs with Greensleeves, and myself, Pato Banton and Tipper Irie, we was all in studio together actually, and if you remember, Tipper Irie had a tune called Hello Darling. Yeah, well, my cousin band, they came up with that rhythm track. We was all in the studio together, and with our releases, we was all doing shows around London, Birmingham, Wolverhampton. We was doing them together, you know. Pato Banton, yeah. Which was a good experience. And then I kind of came out of the music business for a while because, you know, I wasn't making, you know, you've got to live. You got children and you got family life. You know, you got to be in touch with reality too, you know. And so I came out of the music business for a while. But then, you know, like I say to people, when it's in the blood, it's just in the blood, you know. And don't make no sense fight it, you know. So I'm still singing now.
All the time.
Yes, I do my tribute to Bob Marley show, but I've also got, I'm working on my own album at the moment, which is going very well. I've already got a single release from the album.
Who are you doing that with?
That's with a production company called X, which is in Birmingham, and you know, Glamour Wayne is part of, you know, Glamour Wayne, Wayne Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah, he's known as Glamour Wayne. You know, he's in the same stable as well, and you know, we're currently working on songs right now. Yeah. So I've got another release coming very shortly, but my official release is called "Get You Out of My Head." And it's not Kylie Minogue version, it's my own song. It's my own song, but I've got another one coming out very shortly called Reasons to Love You. And these are lovers, which I never used to do.
So what else have you got to tell us about Tanni before we go? Because you kept this little part to yourself until I was off recording with Tipperary and all. Well, how would I have known about that? So what other little glimmers have you got that you're keeping away from us?
Oh, gosh.
They're all in there. You're going to go away and go, I should have
There's lots of things. I mean, like with Oneness Progress, we supported Curtis Mayfield at the university, actually.
And what year was that?
Oh, gosh, what year was that? That was probably about 82. 83, yeah, about 83, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was very, very good night, yeah. But we Linton Kwesi Johnson, you heard of Linton Kwesi Johnson? Well, he did his very first gig with Groundation, and it was at the Phoenix Theatre. His very first live gig, he did it with us at the Phoenix Theatre. That's a bit of history, that is.
You know what I'm going to ask you?
I don't know when it was. I can't remember when it was. That was probably about 81. No, probably about 1980. Yeah.
I like him.
Yes.
Another political.
Political,
I
he's.
see him more as a poet.
Oh yeah, he's a poet. That's what he is. He's a poet. And putting some of his poetry to music was a new thing at the time.
So come on, more.
Oh gosh. I mean, what can I say? You know, when I go, I'm going to remember a load of stuff, you know.
Highlights for Tanni. What were the best bits over the years?
The best bits?
You turn around and you think, you know what? That's the one.
But when we played with Third World, that was a big highlight. And Curtis Mayfield, to be honest, because, you know, Curtis Mayfield is a legend, you know, an absolute legend. And to be playing on the same stage, supporting him, something else, most definitely, something else. More highlights, my goodness. Oh, gosh, you put me on the spot now. But there is quite a few. I mean, we opened a new terminal in Belgium that was going to Jamaica. It was a new, what do you call it, venture with, I forget which airline now, but you know, there was doing flights to Jamaica, I think 2 or 3 times a week in Belgium. This was at the airport. That was a highlight. Yeah.
See what I'm getting as well is for you to, because you're representing Europe, not even just England. If you're in Belgium and you're opening up a terminal, as a group, you are representing black people of Europe.
Yeah. For real.
That's an unsigned band doing everything for themselves.
Yeah.
You're not giving yourself enough credit here.
Well, you know, I suppose it's because, you know, as I say, them days the music business was much different to what it is today. You know, people are much easier to get a deal now compared to yesterday. Yeah, because, you know, just being black for one, you just made it very hard. But then for it to be reggae music is even harder. Do you understand me? And then if it's roots music, it's not even what they would call or deem as commercially viable reggae music, you know, soft reggae then. You know, it was just none of that. So it was just hard all the way. So that was just normal to us, having that, you know, being thrown, you know, having that being thrown at us. So we just kind of got on with it, really.
And you mentioned the Black Gorillas.
Black Gorilla, yes.
I didn't realise they were based in Highfields as well.
Yeah, they was based in Highfields at the time, yes.
Obviously, their music was very, very different to yours.
Yeah, they had a big hit, which...
But how do you think that, you know, how did you get on with them? Was there...
we knew them. We kind of, everybody kind of knew each other. You know, I mean, Leicester's never been short of bands and artists, never, as from I don't know when. Because
yours was so political and forthright, and theirs was not.
Yes, it was the different way, the complete other end of the spectrum. Yes.
Totally. How do you think that affected you? Did it have an effect on you? Did you?
Not really, because you see, it depended. It determined what you was into. Determined what kind of music really you was going to play and be a part of. So, you know, they were like Saquii. Them, you know, Saquii. They were youngsters, and they always say, they never stop saying that we inspired them to. They don't hide it. That we inspired them to play and, you know, get a band together, and, you know, we liked them because their vibes, you know, I mean, they was, you know, a set of guys, you know, that just kind of got on with it.
So what's that in your hand?
This is one of the few pictures that we took, you know.
Yeah. That's what we guys,
Yep. So that's Ellis Paul, the keyboard player, rest in peace. This one here, lovely brother. That's Dave Caesar, the drummer. That's Franklin, the lead guitarist. That's Robert Charles, the saxophonist. That's George, the bass player. That's Henry, the rhythm guitar, Van Cleet. And that's Tanni with his head just popping over. That's myself.